That's the team that plays to win for you and me.
Welcome back, Shimboners. On today's pod, we'll be previewing Friday afternoon's SuperClash against the Blues. Obviously a day that is much bigger than football, but we will preview the football aspect of it. I'll also continue our series where we're going through each Guernsey number that correlates to the episode number. So number 5 today. The Big Chief is back, so he'll address his watch list and much more as we preview a really important line in the sand game, I think, for the club. So before we get there, welcome back, Chief. You probably got a lot to say because you don't like it when you miss out on the pod.
No, a bit of fear of missing out there, but I'm back for the preview of our biggest game of the year.
I think you could nearly make a case without being over dramatic that it's the biggest game of the decade.
Oh.
For us. For where we are, third year under Clarko, Carlton aren't flying. We think we've improved, but the last 2 performances haven't been great. Big stage.
Prime time, baby.
Prime time against Carlton, which would probably be our biggest scalp in the decade. So I think it's a huge clash, as well as all the heat that Alistair Clarkson's got during the week. I think it's imperative that our players stand up for our coach and put out a performance that not only gets us deeper into the game, as he's been saying, but we win. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think both teams are going to go in expecting to win. And last time we did that, it was Sydney and it was horrendous. And I'm expecting it to be a finals-like atmosphere, and it'll be good for our inexperienced team who's played finals. Elmac, not counting the imports.
Only Elmac.
Only Elmac and the 3 we got this year, the 3 senior players. So good test for them. 45 plus, only game on for the day.
No, it's not.
No, there's one in WA, isn't there?
Nobody cares about that.
No one cares about that. Only game in Melbourne. Only game televised on Channel 7. So, yeah, and it's our biggest game of the year, traditionally. So we're going to treat it like a final, I think. And so find out who stands up under the pressure, under the spotlight.
It will be an absolute pressure cooker, and Clarko can get a real sense of who's going to step up to the occasion and who might shy away a little bit. So it's going to be a huge game, and we'll get to a more in-depth preview in a sec, but I suppose I better ask you what your thoughts were on the performance down at the Barossa. What were your thoughts?
It was a mixed bag, wasn't it? To come back after... Well, we dominated early, didn't we? But couldn't kick straight with the wind. And then we came back when we were down, into the wind, and we outscored them. And we looked good in patches, didn't we? But then, we all remember the last quarter, which we just, went off the boil, didn't we? Right off the boil, which is strange, seeing it was boiling hot.
Yeah, well, in previous years, when we were that 25 margin down, we would have lost by 80, but the sad part is we still lost by 60.
Yeah.
So we did well to get back in front, but then fell away again, which is the concern.
Yeah, the concern for me, from looking at the game, was our inability to get a ground ball in our defensive 50. Because they just bombed it in long, and when it came to ground, they cleaned it up too often, way too often, and cleaned up for a fairly easy shot at goal. So, big worry for me is our whole back line is too slow. You made a point off air that Fisher's... I don't see him as scintillating pace, but he's got the most pace down there.
Yeah,
he does give you some run, but otherwise his general defence isn't what he's there for. He's not very good at it. And our talls aren't overly quick, and our mediums and smalls aren't quick, so that's a worry.
Our talls aren't quick. All I hear of every game in commentary, Aiden calls closing speed.
I was about to say, unless Dermot's commentating, and that's all he talks about, because obviously he must have done a bit of one-on-one with him when he was up at GWS, and Dermot at 50 couldn't keep up with him, so he thinks he's quick. But yeah, they're not overly quick, though, are they? And we just couldn't clean that ground ball up. Very frustrating when you're watching on TV. You were at the game in your sunnies.
Yeah, I got a bit of feedback on that when I did an Instagram live as I was walking, and a couple of listeners mentioned that I'd taken your advice and had the sunnies on, and I'm glad I did.
Yep, and you've got a little patch just around your left temple.
Yeah, just admit to it.
Missed a little exposed to the sun and got a bit red there.
Yeah, it was like a 2x2 centimetre square.
It just didn't quite cover up that bit. But yeah, it was sinking hot, wasn't it?
It was. And I forgot to say to Finn O'Sullivan's mum, thank you very much. Had a couple of badges there. FOSS badges that she passed on to us. So
yes.
A big thank you to her as well.
And shout out to her because she told you she listens.
Yes, yeah. And that's what we like. I want to talk about the umpires quickly. I see you've got it written down there. So I wait till round 5 to release the free kick differential.
I'm glad you brought that up because it wasn't in your rundown and I just thought of it as you pressed record.
And we are number 18.
Out of 18.
Yes, so we're got the worst differential in the AFL, and I reckon half of them have been ticky-tackies against your man X.
Well, the ruck roulette, as I call it, the free kicks out of the ruck contest went against him on the weekend.
Well, it's not a roulette anymore. It's just a ruck against Big X.
Well, Big Wits went home with his pockets full because he got the better of it. And there was another one I want to talk about. LDU got tackled in the midfield. The ball spilled free. They called play on, and then he got dumped. Tackled to the ground, taken out of play, no free kick. What the hell happened there? Now, if that was any other gun midfielder, and I'm not even going to mention names, the listeners can make up the gun midfielder for any other team, that is always a free kick. And it shouldn't matter that it's a gun midfielder. They should all be treated the same. But we know there's a tax, and I think we're getting the North tax. And we can't be that, we're not that bad. You know, they always say, the poorer teams, second to the ball, don't know how to tackle properly. It's not that.
But if you look at our contested and clearance numbers, we're in the top.
Yeah, it is not that. We're just getting a heavy tax on. To be that far down, minus 24 after 5 games.
Yeah, and West Coast have had about 3 disposals a game, and they're above us. So.
Yeah, there's something we see it through our blue and white colour lenses. Admittedly, that we think we're hard done by, and the stats prove we are. And it's the 50-50s. There's the ones that can either be called play on or given a free. And if, like LDU was called play on where he should have been when he was thrown to the ground without the ball. And there's others that are, if we do that to someone, it's a free kick.
Yeah, you wait till this
And don't get me started on my other man, or the man we're both fighting over, PC. He's just got to look at someone, and that's a free kick.
He's too strong.
He's too strong. Where's the tax for that?
And you think it's
if you're a key forward, Tom Hawkins was too strong for 15 years. He never gave away free kicks.
And if you think it's bad now, you wait till this week when the Charlie tax comes out.
Yes. Well, we'll get up to that on matchups. So I want Cora on him holding his arm and you'll get 19 frees. I don't want that at all.
So as I mentioned off the top, we're continuing our series of each episode number. So we're at 105 today, so our favourite number 5s of all time. I'll take the New Rock. So number 5 hasn't exactly been full of superstars in my time watching North, so I've gone with a bit of a rogue one, someone that was there during our successful period in the mid-2010s, and one that I really enjoyed watching was Benny Jacobs. Loved the way he got about it.
Loved him as well.
He's still got Trent Cotchin in his pocket when he flogged him in the elimination final and reinvented himself as a tagger. Came across from Port Adelaide as a bit of a interesting pick. He wasn't in their best 22. Couldn't really nail down a spot, but found that role as a tagger and became the best tagger in the league. Unfortunately, concussion issues shortened his career because he was a star in the making and really important part of our midfield group, and loved the way he went about it. And funnily enough, so did Brad Scott, and that's where he is now, with him at Essendon.
Yes, and don't forget, he was a first-round draft pick, I think around the number 16 mark. So he was an elite junior, and obviously he didn't quite come across as an elite midfielder until they gave him that run with tagging role, and then he was the best in the comp for about 2 years.
Yeah,
until, unfortunately, injuries, got, as you said, concussion particularly, got the better of him.
He was a pretty good user too, left footer, so you'd definitely be getting a game under Clarko.
Yeah, and tough. Well, I mean, you've got to be tough to be a tagger because you're scragging someone all day and getting belted back in retaliation. Have you finished on him?
Yeah, you're right. Your turn.
Yeah, it was Soon Pickings, number 5. And I've gone for one. I'm going back in the time machine to the 80s again, right? Because obviously you weren't around. I was just a wee lad. But Abernathy, Bruce Abernathy. I loved him. I just loved the name. the commentators got a little bit excited when they called him. He was a winger, halfback, flanker type. Gave the run and drive. Unfortunately, he only played 2 seasons at North and then went to the filth of Collingwood. Obviously, I don't know. I was too young to know the ins and outs of what happened, but he got traded to Collingwood, and I reckon he was chasing probably the Bucks.
Oh,
not the Nathan Bucks, the dollars. And I was devastated as a young fella. I wasn't happy. He wasn't my favourite player, but I liked him, and I thought he should have had a longer career at North, but got traded. Honourable mention to Jace McCartney, who probably played in one of the best games ever in his comeback game.
Yeah,
I'll give him an honourable mention, but he did play for 2 other teams, notably Collingwood and Adelaide, and I didn't like him when he was in the opposition jumper, and he came to us and was more than serviceable as a centre-half back when we only needed soldiers because we had the king.
Yeah.
So we only needed soldiers around to get the ball down to him and hold up an end, and he was very good at doing that, and of course infamously missed a premiership because of a silly late spoil that almost took someone's head off and broke his nose.
But and his young fella hopefully comes to us as a father-son because he's about 195 centimetre key forward, so just what we need.
Just what we need, and we're going off topic to grind my gears, and I've had a little thought bubble about how to fix the draft, but I'm not doing that this pod. Right,
Oh.
but remind me. Right,
You've already fixed the umpires. You fixed everything else.
Well, I'll fix it, but they don't listen.
No.
But I've got a big thing for the draft. But father-son should outweigh bloody GWS academy, any academy, not just like you look at Blakey. He should be playing for us.
He'd be good, the Lizard.
Or he could have been Fitzroy, of course, aka Brisbane. But the academies are meant to bring talent in. And they're a bit like the NGAs, aren't they? Like they're meant to develop people who aren't from football backgrounds. Well, if your father's a legend of the football, you're obviously going to be born with a football in your hand, aren't you? So, should be father-sons only eligible. If you don't want to go to the father-son club, then you, like everyone else, you go into the open pool of the draft. Good luck, because you'll probably end up at West Coast for the next 10 years.
Harley. Let's get into our match preview then and cast our eye to Friday afternoon. So we've got a milestone this week, and we generally wouldn't celebrate 50 games as heavy as we're going to today, but what a 50 they've been. The boy wonder, Harry Sheasel, plays game number 50 this weekend, and not sure we've seen a better first 50 at the North Melbourne Footy Club.
No, you'd have to go back through the stats. I reckon Carey would give him a run.
I reckon he would too.
Carey was injured when he was really young and obviously played a much tougher position as a key forward. I think Fredo mentioned on the last pod, Sam Kekovic obviously got off to a flyer, so that was before my time as well. So, but yeah, he'd be on the podium if not on the top step.
And he's all class, and congratulations to him, and look forward to seeing another 300 in the blue and white for him.
Yes, agreed.
Let's have a look at the injury update that the club sent out. So your man, well, he's my man too, but he's part of your club, Jackson Archer, ruled out this week, unfortunately, still dealing with that hamstring issue. That's the bad news. The good news is the Warlord, Georgie's been given the all clear.
Finally, Black Boots George is back, the Warlord, and he will attack it like it is a final.
Yeah, he does every week.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. Just you lock that in. Like any of my CCC.
Exactly.
Just lock it in, the attack on the ball and the man.
Geez, I'm interested to see how they all go in their first game together, all 5. That'll be that'll be a big watch.
Yes.
And then a couple others that sort of are the lesser names, so to speak. Matt Whitlock, unfortunately, rolled ankle 3 to 4 weeks for him.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate because he's right on the cusp of coming back in for mine. Depends on matchups and how many tall forwards, etc. the other team have. And my want, which I've been big on this for a long time, is to get John forward.
Now, hold on that, because I've got a discussion topic about that a bit later on. So, and then Eddie Ford, all clear to return as well this week, which is good because I reckon he'll push a case.
Call on Elvis, but
Yep.
he's got to do some work in the twos because he's not an automatic into the ones.
No, he'll play 2s this week for sure.
Yep.
So, Right, let's have a look at the last time we met Carlton. So it was round 19 last year. We went down 107 to 88. We're actually up at half time. It was during that stretch of about 8 weeks where we played great football week in, week out, but we just couldn't get the job done. So best on for that game. I had to look through the stats. Harry Sheasel had 35 and kicked 2.
So, well, that's just,
Locked
that's Harry.
for this
That's what
week.
we want. That's what we want from Harry.
Yeah, more scoreboard impact, please. Bailey Scott had 25 and kicked a goal.
Yeah, well, that's what we want Bailey to get back to, but he's a long way off.
He is. And then for the goal scorers, we saw Paul Curtis kick 3 and Chom kick 3 in about 6 minutes.
Yep.
That game as well.
Which is why I like him forward.
Yep.
And I haven't forgotten the game against Melbourne where he was all-Australian quality centre-half intercepting back. But I want him forward because I think we can cover him in the back line.
Yeah, so let's have a look at my changes this week. I've only made the one change.
Okay.
Which is a bit interesting, but I've gone Wardlaw in and Tucker out.
Yep.
So the big one there, everyone will be saying is you've picked Colby McKercher.
Yes.
And you and I have spoken a bit about this. I think they said at training that Clarko had his arm around him and was having a lot of discussion. So you can read into that either way. Either he's backing him in and say, come on, young fella, or he might be dropped. But I think one last chance.
Oh, no, I disagree. Not on the last chance.
Before he gets dropped,
he's in his second year. He's played one bad game.
I disagree. I think he's played one good game this year. And he's not having enough impact in the 50-50s. His ball use has never been an issue. He had about 3 bad moments in a row against the Suns that resulted in 3 goals before.
Yeah, that's the one bad game I'm talking about.
But he's had moments in other games as
well.
Yeah,
but not bad games in totality.
Yeah, but the one thing we slammed Hansen Jr. about some of his efforts.
He's been better than Hansen Jr.
Yeah, I just think it's a big watch. I think he'll play this week, and I think he needs to against Carlton because they are a very.
Who are you bringing in for him when you drop him? You're bringing Tucker back in. You're bringing Bailey Scott back in. Who are you bringing in?
Well, it's about setting standards. It's not necessarily who's coming in.
Yeah, I think. I disagree. I think you're a young fella. He's obviously high in talent. We've seen it. Yes, he's had some bad moments. Well, how about we learn? How about we back him in? Say, highlight it to him. This isn't good enough. Go out and show us.
That's why I'm not dropping him. You're not listening. I never said I was dropping him.
No, but you said you're on the last. You gave him the last rights. No. Yeah, you're basically giving him his last rights. Well, the way I heard
my main point is that if we see that again, you'll have to have a rest in the twos.
Yeah,
we need more of an effort.
Yes.
We're not saying you have to go in there and be Ben Cunnington, but it's when it's your time to put your head over the footy. There's a.
And you wouldn't go to Cunnington and say you trailed a bloke by 5 metres for 50 metres because you couldn't run him down and drop him and say go to running school and become an Olympic sprinter, would you?
No, I don't think that's the same.
You got to back them. No, but you've got to back them into their strengths. And yes, everyone has to go, and we have been hard on Robbie Hansen Jr. and Stevens, to name a couple. But yeah, you highlight to him and say next time and see what he does next time. I think you're a bit quick to pull the axe out.
I'm not dropping him though. You're not listening, but I'm saying it's a watch.
Okay.
And I think he's such a great player, but I think that's just something that, like you said, has to be highlighted to him. And I think there's a standard when you put on the blue and white Guernsey.
Absolutely.
So that's all I'm
100%.
saying. I'm not saying dropping. I haven't dropped him from my team, but I'm saying I think it's a great teaching moment for Clarko, and he'll be saying, we want you to get this out of your game as quickly as possible.
Yes, but I'd be saying you'd have to do that you'd have to have games like on the weekend for at least two in a row, if not 3, before I drop him, because he's got enough body of work last year.
I disagree, but
okay. Well, we don't have to agree. I mean, you don't have to be right all the time.
So yes, in my team lineup, I'd love to see Comben go to full forward and help, because Big X is definitely not right. He didn't play the last quarter against the Suns. Apparently, one of our listeners said a similar thing happened against Adelaide as well. So he's clearly carrying a hamstring injury. So take some of the stress off of him. And this is going to be the balance, because Carlton are known to kick it long. They're a very slow team. So if you want Comben to be that intercepting player, then I think you've got to bring Finbar in and play him at full forward as the second ruck. So I think regardless of which decision they make, I think we need that second ruck option more so a proper second ruck option that can take more minutes off X rather than just Darling in there for 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, or do you not play X if he's injured? Because the worry is the Koning is very athletic. He'll out jump X. X has got to bash him up like he did last year and ground him, right? The Koning is more athletic than X, even a fit X. So maybe they rest him. I don't know how. They haven't mentioned him injury-wise on any of their media or on their website. So
we know clubs aren't transparent with that stuff.
No, I know. But so it's hard to say on a podcast what you think they should do. But we need him to get through the game. De Koning's he's probably the former ruckman of the league. He's playing for the biggest contract ever to transfer to St Kilda, which I think if we beat Carlton, I think that might be he might go down to Ross and sign on the dotted line on Monday. But getting off topic, but who do you bring in to do the ruck work?
Well, do you listen when I speak? I said
not
Comben or Finbar if you want to leave Comben down back to be an interceptor because Carlton play a very slow game.
Yeah, Finbar's not a ruckman though. He's at best a chop out ruckman. He's a forward.
I'm not saying but I'm going off that X is playing.
Okay. Well, so if X doesn't play, they've got to bring in Tex.
They'll bring in Brent Teakle, yes.
Yeah. Okay. It's just a bit of a watch for me because I think if X can't cover the ground, and I don't know why they just rest him because of the heat, because that's another little out, and I don't like using excuses, but obviously Colby was affected. They're obviously all affected looking at the last quarter in the heat, and we don't use excuses. But did they protect him a bit? X?
Oh, probably, but come on, Clarko, you were not using the heater. The two teams playing.
No, but I'm thinking, were they thinking about this week more than last week?
Probably.
And they thought, well, the game's shot, so let's get him off.
I reckon.
Yeah,
6-day break.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's another thing. 6-day break. I hope Kevin's been right on his game this week at training.
And just to watch as well, with TDK being the new golden boy ruckman, you watch how many frees 50-50 ones they'll give him.
Exactly.
And remember, he soaked it up when X beat him up last year, so I hope X lays into him again.
Yes. Well, no doubt they've alerted the umpiring department.
Oh, I reckon they have. So we've just spoken about the ruck battle then. Let's have a look at the midfield. So our midfield for the first time this year, seeing George Wardlaw part of the rotation. I fully expect him to probably play 50 to 65% game time. I don't reckon they'll run him any more than that, especially with how many mids we've got on the side. So LDU, Jizer, and just quickly on Jai, I saw that he's one of 4 players that's averaging 20 plus and a goal a game.
Yeah.
The others off the top of my head were Merritt. I can't remember now. Nasai Wanganeen Miller was one, and I can't think who the 4th one was. But
yeah, okay. And Miller is a half back.
Oh, no, not necessarily anymore. Plays a lot of... He's probably 50-50 split.
What, to the wing?
No, to the midfield.
Does he?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Well, that's what happens when you go to gather round. You get to watch other teams and see what's going on.
I didn't go to the Saints game.
Okay,
But, so then Sheasel, Powell, Wardlaw as well for us against the likes of Cripps, Walsh, Hewitt and Chera. And I thought some of the comments online about Tom Powell were a bit strong.
The Big Chief does not do the socials. Because, if you're in the CCC and you promote the CCC, there's no way you're going to be a keyboard warrior. Okay?
Yeah.
Because
I'm not talking
it's
about
coward's
you.
paradise sitting behind a typewriter. Is it a typewriter? They send it by courier pigeon or something? Yeah. Is that how it works? Oh. I've got no idea.
Don't get me started on some of the comments about Clarko either. About sacking him. That would just send us back 3 years. He's got to see out the
I've got one question or one statement about that. Are we better this time this year than this time last year?
Well, that's an easy yes. You look at percentage, you look at win-loss, you look at everything.
Yeah. And just without being too much of a Clarko, we're in games longer.
Oh, no, you can't be feeding me that. But no,
well, it's true though. It is actually true. We were dead by half time this time last year in every game.
Yeah. Now, did you listen to the last pod with the Frog?
Yes, I did.
Did you hear my strong thoughts about the next 5 weeks and how important they are?
They are. I agree.
Okay.
I think Brisbane's the only game that's probably beyond us.
I think so
but
too.
Who knows? Down at Boot Park, now Ninja Stadium, Hobart weather, which is normally beautiful, might just be a bit cold for it.
By round 9 it'll be
Yeah,
fresh.
hopefully we just get a bit of home ground something going down there.
Let's have a look at the defensive matchups. So we've talked about Charlie Curnow, and you want Core, but I think if we cast our minds back to the last time we played, I watched a bit of Vision today. Griffin Logue, I think Curnow kicked 3 or 4, but Logue flogged him.
He did. He did well on him, and that was his.
We're about to say that in unison. It was his first game back from ACL. Now, my main concern is, looking at Logue this year, he does not look 100%. I think he looks hampered a little bit watching him live.
Okay.
I'm not saying... Oh, you think I'm saying he's a bit heavy.
I thought you were saying too much Bulls cooking.
No, I'm thinking more the hammy might be bothering him a little bit or something. He doesn't look to be running as freely as he has in previous years.
No, and they're going to... He's their main... Was the only quality tall they've got down there. I reckon they'll play Silvani down there, who's obviously played most of his career as a tall and can be threatening if he's on a similar type body. He's not bad above his head, Silvani, and he's fairly brave. So you need to put someone probably a little bit taller. If we've got maybe a Core could go on him and just be instructed not to touch his arm at all.
And then they'll play a resting ruck. So for those who might not be fully across, Harry Mackay will miss for them with concussion, and Brody Kemp is out for the season after rupturing his Achilles. So they were the two. They'll probably bring in Lewis Young as well, I reckon.
Yeah.
So we probably will have to stick with the 3 tall approach. Lewis Young, I don't have the height on him, but Elmac might be able to go with him.
Oh, no way. He's 200.
Oh, okay. Well, there, no. So
he's 200-ish. He's either...
Get the shotgun in. Get the shotgun in, or Toby. They'll probably bring one of those two in, I reckon.
Well, Toby's not overly tall, though.
No, that's the thing. So maybe, yeah. Then you look at their small forwards, and I think this is the one game where we can get away with playing Fisher and CD in the same back line, because Motlop, Corey Durden, Zach Williams, Will White, and Lockie Fogarty. So lots of sort of small defenders there that aren't great overhead.
Yeah, going back, sorry, I'm still on the last conversation. So if they did bring Young in to play forward, are they still playing McGovern?
Yep.
They could play him forward. He's
Yeah.
about 196. But anyway, you could put Core on a Young, because even though he's shorter, I think he could handle that job. He's played on King and others. And then you could put Pink onto Silvani.
Yeah, he might get in for pace. That's the only concern. Maybe Callan Dawson comes in.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got a bit off track, so let's have a look at our forward line matchup. So, the big Sorv, I think he'll probably get Wiedering.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if he didn't get him, and he has a good record against him as well. So, that'll be an interesting one to watch. I think if we play a Charlie Comben or potentially a Finbar, it stretches their back line, because they're second, third talls, and they play a pretty tall back line, but they're not proper talls. So you've got Silvani, who plays above his height, McGovern, who hates playing on anyone, and Nick Haynes, who's only ever played as a third or fourth tall.
And has been in poor form, and he's long in the tooth, as well as long in the man bun area.
Yeah, well, it's a separate topic, but a good bullet to dodge there, because a lot of North supporters wanted him to come in.
Yes. I agree. I played Chom forward this week and stretch him, and he'd have confidence because he kicked 3 1/4 last year against them, and it would stretch them.
I agree.
And he will bring the ball to ground
Because we don't have
if
that
he doesn't
sort of
mark
guard.
it. Hopefully he marks it, but we haven't got the pack crusher.
No. So then the flow and effect is that JD and my man the Zoo, they get the following matchups as well. So whoever doesn't go to them in sort of a Haynes or McGovern, which they're probably licking their lips at the thought of that, because they've been out of form. And then you look at their small rebounding defenders. So a lot of teams sort of have 3 or 4 options, the good sides, where looking at Carlton, like I've mentioned before, they are one of the worst sides in terms of pace on the ball to transition. So they've got Adam Sard and Ollie Hollands as their 2 sort of distributors out of half-back.
Yep. PC's going to get one of them, and I'm going to walk him straight to the cage.
Yep, take him to the cage for sure. And another thing with Carlton is, because they're so slow with ball in hand and they're so reliant on Hollands, Sard, and I'll add McGovern because I like him using it. But if you can bring the pressure we saw in round 1 with Richmond. They turned it up to 11, the pressure. And the Carlton could not handle it at all. They were doing sky kicks inboard. They just would... They were completely terrified of the pressure that was brought. So that's the big watch for me. The likes of Zerha, who we saw him get angry last week and sort of resemble the old Zoo, who used to love tackling and running around and getting in a few scuffs. I think we saw a lot more of that, probably because he was frustrated. But he needs to bring it. PC is our leading forward 50 tackler, so we know he'll bring it. Constanti, he'll bring it. And the big thing with Chom is, if he's down there, he'll bring it as well.
Yes, he's good. He's good at the follow-up pressure. He's got a bit of mobility, the big Chomden.
I think it's big fat.
No, Big Chomden.
His skin folds would be brilliant, Chomden.
The other thing is, conversely, if we do force him into long, high dump kicks, then Chom could replicate what he did against Melbourne if he was in the back line.
Yeah, that was my...
We are robbing Peter to pay Paul a bit, but maybe Dawson comes in because he's sort of been playing that role in the VFL.
Which Dawson?
The
shotgun?
Cal.
No,
Cal.
Yeah.
And but I'm still a bit questionable about his overhead marking all the time. It's not AFL key position level.
No, but
you've got to give him a go.
The benefit of playing him over Pink is he's a lot more agile.
Yeah, he'll give more run.
And a better user.
Yep.
Right, so let's get to Baz's big call. So
I forgot about that.
Last week I had JK to kick 1, so boom, boom. Not great this week, but I've doubled down, not on JK, but I'm going another extreme pick. So I've got the trio of Curtis, Larky and Zerha to combine for 12 plus.
12 plus?
Fill their boots.
So they're going to at least kick 4 each, or one will kick 8 and 2 twos, or some version of 12. And if they do that, I think we should win.
Exactly.
Although the AFL has turned into a bit of a shootout league lately, hasn't it? There's a lot of high scores. You've got to score over 100 points to win. So there's 15 goals at minimum.
And I went to a lot of the games last week, and they were very high scoring, particularly...
They've been all year.
Thursday night, Adelaide kicked over 100 and lost.
Yeah.
So, it is becoming a bit more slingshot football. And
especially under the lid. Quick jacket, marvellous.
Exactly. So let's get into our predictions for the game. I'll give you the new rock. Who have you got winning and by how much?
I'm going North by 20.
I like it. I've also tipped North, which worries me because after the Sydney game I thought, I'm not tipping them for a while, and then it's only taken 1 week and I'm back on.
I've got a question without notice, without tipping.
Right.
When was the last time you tipped North and they won?
I would have been against Richmond last year.
Yeah, okay, good call. That's probably me because it seems a long time ago.
Yeah, well, we both tipped Melbourne when we beat Melbourne.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
So.
And we tipped us to win against the Bulldogs and against Sydney.
So we know how that went.
And now against Carlton. So hopefully we're not a jinx.
So obviously you weren't on the last pod, so we'll just check in with the watch list. You're not adding anyone, are you? And just remind the listeners who currently sits on the watch list.
Right. Well. Both went on in round 4, and it's Bailey Scott, who did not play, so did not get a chance to try and get off the watch list.
Hello, Clarko, no doubt listening.
Yeah.
Once they get on the watch list, they don't last in the team too long.
No, and nor they should. And Clarko himself is on there due to his work in the presses, mainly, talking about the opposition way too favourably and not giving us enough answers of what we're doing right or wrong.
I think tactically as well he's on the watch list because he got smashed by Dean Cox.
Yes.
And when he was telling us that he knew all week they were
the best corridor team in the league, and yet we let him waltz through the corridor for 4 quarters. So that's why he's on. I'll give him a dash for last week. I think his presser was a bit more positive. He was pretty good on 360. I don't know if you saw that. They did talk about Brisbane a lot, and that's because Fags was across the desk from him. Yeah, no, that's right. You led where the interviewers lead you as well. So he gets a dash. So I'm looking to see a tick. If we get a win, I'll tell you what, if we win, I'll give him a tick straight away.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wins equals ticks.
Yeah, wins equals ticks, Clarko. So see a few of them.
And just remind the listeners who might be new this year about how individuals get off the watch list.
Yes, they go on. We'll rewind a bit, and they go on by playing below expectations, of where we think they should be. First year players are immune because they're just leaning the caper and they're generally 18-year-old kids. And to get off, you've got to play 3. You've got to get 3 ticks. So you've got to get our approval for 3 games at senior level.
Yeah.
We will watch the VFL and see how they're going there, but you've got to get back in the team and then get 3 ticks.
Yeah, so the VFL doesn't count.
No. It's an indicator, but it doesn't count. Now, we forgot the last time I was on to do the True Shinboner Award. So I've rolled round 4 and 5 into one, and the True Shinboner is an award for a weekly award for the Shinboner act of pretty much bravery. It's sort of an indicator to CCC, to be fair. And funnily enough, for round 4 and 5, for playing with cracked ribs and going in and tackling and smashing and antagonising your ex-teammates up in Sydney is Luke Parker.
And playing bloody well.
Yes. So he gets it, and we don't have to give one every week. It's not like the most prestigious where we vote every week. If no one's deserving, no one's getting one. But anyway, Parker gets it.
I like it. Right, before we let the listeners go, we'll finish with our tipping. So, courtesy of SC Rings, our tipping competition sponsor, we are very grateful to have them on board again. Having a quick look, and Hayden, T94, still in the lead. He's been going well. Hopefully he doesn't do a Justin Rose for the golf listeners out there and have a strong lead early and then fall off and leave too much too late.
Yes, or did you watch the golf? Rory.
I did.
Almost had the almightiest choke ever.
Put in the drink. What are you doing, Rory?
Didn't need to. The commentators, that's when I turned it on to start watching, and the commentators were saying, just go to the middle of the green because he had about a 3-shot lead, and it was like I was out there playing, just shanked it straight in the water. I'll tell you what, if you ever want to find water, if you're living in the desert or somewhere, you want to find water, just get me come hit a golf ball somewhere because it'll find the water real easy. And just I did have a look because you get your notification of how many tips you got right, and I'm number 51. I started out on page 3. I'm now at the top of page 2. Yeah. Hopefully next week I'll be on the leaderboard in the top 50.
Gee, that's
coming with a bullet.
You're stretching a bit there, aren't you? I'm in page 2. Well,
I started in page 3 because I got none from 2 in the opening round bullshit.
Yeah. Let's get to the Easter weekend clash, and a Merry Easter. What am I saying? Merry Easter. Happy Easter to everyone out there. Enjoy time with your family if that's how you choose to celebrate. So we'll start Thursday evening. We've got Brisbane against the Pies.
I've gone Brisbane.
I've gone Brisbane as well. We've both tipped North to win in the Good Friday clash, and then the secondary clash, which will be a snooze fest, is West Coast against the Bombers.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to tip the Bombers because I think West Coast are pretty horrific.
Agreed.
Although somehow we managed to lose to them in the official practice match, which I'm still dirty about.
Moving on, but I'm not getting caught up in that web. Melbourne and the Dockers.
The Dockers, easily.
Dockers as well. This will be a ripper game. Adelaide against the Giants.
Giants.
I've gone the Giants as well. I think their midfield will be far too quick for Adelaide's mids.
Their little tip rat half forwards will be far too quick for them as well.
Yeah, Darcy Jones, boy, he's a player.
Yes.
Saturday night, standalone Saturday night, and what a horrendous fixture. We've got Richmond against Gold Coast, a Dimmer's favourite playground, the Marvel.
The Marvel. Well, Richmond won't turn up, and the Gold Coast have got no one to turn up. So, it'll be like an intra-club or something. There'll be no one there.
And Noah Bolter. Adam Muzay in his presser said he's probably going to play. He's available for selection, which is a disgrace.
Right, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to give a positive media street about that.
Right, okay, we'll touch on that in a second. An interesting clash at the SCG to kick off Sunday with Sydney and Port Adelaide. I'm tipping the Swans while you're sitting there.
I'm trying to think who I tipped because I did them earlier. I'm pretty sure I tipped Sydney.
And then a Sunday night clash, we've got the Bulldogs pitted against the Saints.
Yeah, I went the Bullies.
Me too. And then Easter Monday, which will be a ripper as well, Geelong against Hockball.
I went for the Hawks.
Yes, I did too.
Did you?
Yeah,
well, exactly the same.
We did, and we both tipped, they're an upset because the Geelong are favourites. So that's interesting.
Well, we're an upset too, if you're going just off the odds.
And the Giants are as well, on odds.
Wow.
So, right, get to your positive media street.
Right, now we're giving this bloke many a clip on Media Street. It's Media Street brackets, the Sam McClure sledging.
And rightly so.
And if you just go back and listen to any episode, you'd probably pick one up where we've sledged him. Mainly because he seems to hate North and is incorrect factually is the main thing we sledge him about. But he had on his Tradies podcast with Just Quickly Mitch, he had a lot to say about Noah Boulder and how the AFL and Richmond have stuffed it up. And I'm not going to go over what he said, but I 100% agree. But in a nutshell, what he said was, now they know all the facts are out. Everyone's seen the vision. They should have just kept the suspension open until he goes to court and gets the court deals with him, which is on the 22nd, I think, of April.
It's like next week.
Yeah, so it would have been, in effect, an extra 2 weeks. Keep it open. It's a very serious thing, no matter what he did. He's pleaded guilty. He's admitted he's wrong. He's paid out civil action to the victim. And the AFL, pathetic. And Richmond as well. And then, as alluded to what you said, his coach, Uze, trying to defend it. And he also made the point, he played last week in the VFL against 17-year-olds.
Yeah.
He's a convicted... Anyway, nothing against the person, but all against the action, to be like Ross Lyon. They should have just said, no, you wait another 2 weeks and we'll see what happens with the court. Because he could go to jail.
Do you know what pisses me off the most is when they come out and say he's had a 6-match suspension. Nobody gives a toss about the pre-season if he didn't play then.
And you look at so he's missed, in effect, 4 AFL senior games, and compare that to what Archer did, and he's missed 3.
Well, I was literally about to go there, so you've stolen my thunder, but it just shows how stupid it all is.
Yeah, so I think the AFL, who we know are very sensitive and want to have a keen, look squeaky clean to the public, have really stuffed that up.
Well, another one, just to compare it to, I can't remember exactly what this young fella from the Giants wore, but he wore an offensive outfit.
Yes,
at
a private function.
At a private function, got 4 weeks.
Yeah, you can't compare the pair.
Oh, no, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up. But this is the shaky AFL.
Does it pass the pub test?
No, it doesn't.
No, it does not.
It does not pass the pub test. But that might just about be us. I'm just going to ask our listeners once again, if you want to support us, please subscribe or hit the follow button. Turn notifications on. It's all free. It takes you 15 seconds to do. We really appreciate it. So you never miss an episode. It's your way to support us and help us grow. If you've got any North support mates, throw them our way, and hopefully they will like our podcast as well. And we're very appreciative of our listeners and the questions we've been getting, hundreds. So thank you very much to everyone who's been sending them in, and keep doing it, because we try to sort of not pick the same person every week.
We love the interaction. It gets us, it gets us thinking in different directions sometimes, gets different opinions out there. And this is as I said at the start, it's our biggest game of the year. So get along. You no doubt have to have a ticket already. So get along. Really support the boys. I want to see who stands up in a finals-like game, because, no surprise, I don't think we're going to be playing finals. Well, it's still mathematically possible, and we could have a huge spike. And we hope we do.
We like Hockball last year.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a long season, a long way to go. But I'm treating this like our final, young team. See who stands up, see who embraces the pressure of it all, and Kana Kangas.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to it, and I've just seen from the club there that there are some seats remaining, so if you're thinking about it, get along, support the boys, and I'll tell you who will stand up. My man George, to take your thunder. But really looking forward to the game. Until then, go Roos!
Good old North Melbourne, they're champions, you'll agree. North Melbourne is the team that plays to win for